Hello everyone, good evening. I'm Shreya Dhoundial. After battering Mumbai and Goa, cyclone Tauktae has finally made landfall in the coast of Gujarat. The process of landfall will take 2 hours to complete and has started between Diva and Una, which is in coastal Gujarat. Now, this will be accompanied with heavy rainfall and strong winds that we are witnessing in the area. This is the most intense storm to hit Gujarat since 1998 and comes as India is battling the worst pandemic in its history. I'm going straight across to Mayur, who is joining us from Mahua, which is in Bhavnagar. Mayur, सबसे पहले हम आपके पास लाइव आ रहे हैं, जरा हमें तस्वीरें दिखाइए किस तरह का दृश्य आपको देखने को मिल रहा है। लैंडफॉल का प्रोसेस शुरू हो गया है और ये प्रोसेस कितनी देर तक रहेगा, अगर आप हमें बता सके तो।
जी बिल्कुल, लैंडफॉल का जो प्रोसेस है वो चालू हो गया है। मैं विजय को अब बोलना चाहूँगा कि वो जो तस्वीर है वो आपको दिखाए, खास करके जो दीव और ऊना जो है तहसील, वहाँ पे अभी लैंडफॉल हो गया है और जो वहाँ भारी बारिश है वो हो रही है, तेज हवाएं चल रही है और अभी ये महुआ में भी आप देख रहे हैं कि लैंडफॉल की असर है वो यहाँ तक जो है वो देखने को मिल रहे। यहाँ भी जो हवा है वो काफी तेज हो गई है और भारी बारिश है वो भी चालू हो गई है। खास करके अगर बात की जाए तो कोस्टल जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट है, पोरबंदर, गिर सोमनाथ, अमरेली, भावनगर और जूनागढ़, ये 5 जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट है उसमें सबसे ज्यादा ये जो साइक्लोन है लैंडफॉल हो गया है, तो उसकी असर अब देखने को मिल रही है और विंड है वो काफी तेज हो गई है, विंड स्पीड बढ़ गई है और पर हवर की अगर बात की जाए तो 160 से 165 की विंड स्पीड है वो अभी भावनगर जो और पोरबंदर और गिर सोमनाथ में रहने वाली है और खास करके दीव और ऊना पे अभी 200 से ज्यादा विंड स्पीड की जो है वो रह रही है। मौसम विभाग ने जो फोरकास्ट किया है उसमें उन्होंने बताया कि 200 से ज्यादा अभी विंड स्पीड है वो अभी 7 जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट सौराष्ट्र के है वहां पे जो गुजरात गवर्नमेंट है उन्होंने 1 लाख से ज्यादा लोगों को सुरक्षित जगह पे बस भेज दिया है और साथ ही जो एनडीआरएफ की टीम है और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का जो डिजास्टर कंट्रोल अथॉरिटी है उन्होंने सब कमान अपने हाथ ले ली है और पूरी तैयारी कर दी।
मयूर,
चीफ मिनिस्टर ने कल ही बोला था कि
मयूर एक सवाल है आपसे। आपने बोला अभी जो विंड स्पीड्स हैं, लैंडफॉल का प्रोसेस शुरू हो गया है और जो विंड स्पीड्स हैं, तस्वीरें भी हम दिखा रहे हैं अपने व्यूअर्स को कि 200 किलोमीटर पर आवर की रफ्तार से चल रहे हैं, यानी अगर कोई इंसान खड़ा हुआ हो बाहर वो खड़ा नहीं हो सकता, विंड स्पीड इतनी ज्यादा है। आप हमें बताइए कि ये जो इम्पैक्ट है लैंडफॉल का, ये कितनी देर तक रहेगा? हाँ, 2 घंटे पूरा प्रोसेस कंप्लीट होगा, क्या पूरी रात इस तरह की हवाएं चलेंगी और बारिश होगी? मेट डिपार्टमेंट क्या कह रहा है?
जी बिल्कुल, जो मौसम विभाग है उन्होंने बताया है कि जो लैंडफॉल हो गया उसके बाद जो 2 घंटे ये पूरी प्रोसेस रहेगी और विंड स्पीड है वो 2 घंटे दीव और ऊना जो एरिया है उसमें 200 से ज्यादा की स्पीड पर आवर्स रहेगी और आसपास के जो दूसरे इलाके हैं यानी भावनगर का जो इलाका है, पोरबंदर का इलाका है, तो वहां पे विंड स्पीड है वो 160 से 165 की प्रति आवर्स वो चलेगी, यानी ये 2 घंटे तो ये चलेगी ही चलेगी, लेकिन आसपास के जो एरिया है वहां भी ये साइक्लोन है जो अभी लैंडफॉल हुआ है तो उसकी असर देखने को मिल रही है और भारी बारिश है वो सौराष्ट्र और नॉर्थ गुजरात दोनों में रीजन में होने वाली है। नॉर्थ गुजरात के भी 3 से 4 जिले में जो भारी बारिश है वो अभी चालू हो गई है और सौराष्ट्र के जो 7 डिस्ट्रिक्ट है उसमें भी भारी बारिश है वो चालू हो गई है और अभी लैंडफॉल हो गया है तो 2 घंटे तक जो तेज हवा है वो चलेगी, यानी 12 या 2 बजे तक ये तेज हवाएं है 200 किलोमीटर पर आवर्स वो चलने वाली है। अभी आप जिस तरह से आवाज भी सुन रहे हैं, क्योंकि बाहर हम नहीं खड़े हो पा रहे, इतनी ज्यादा यहाँ भी जो तेज हवा है वो चल रही है। और जो बाहर की तरफ अगर खड़े रहते हैं तो सीधे ही गाड़ी को भी हिला देते हैं और हमें भी नहीं खड़ा रहने देते। तो अभी विंड स्पीड यहाँ भी जो 130 से 140 पर आवर की हो गई है।
चलिए, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मयूर, आप हमारे लिए ये तस्वीरें लेके आ रहे हैं। जहां आप हैं वहां पर 130 किलोमीटर प्रति घंटे की रफ्तार से हवा चल रही है, बट प्लेसेस वेयर the cyclone has made landfall and the process, as Mayur is telling us, will be completed in 2 hours. That is where wind speeds are touching 200 kilometers per hour. Now, before battering the coast of Gujarat, the cyclone has left its impact in 5 coastal states, including Maharashtra. These are some pictures we got from earlier today. As cyclone Tauktae now moves towards the Indian coast at breakneck speed, wind speeds have picked up in the entire Konkan belt. In Mumbai, heavy rains, waterlogging and wind speeds touching 120 kilometers an hour. The airport and the Bandra Worli sea link had to be shut. In the Arabian Sea near Mangalore, the turbulent storm caught a tug in its wrath. The Navy and the Coast Guard managed to rescue its 9-member crew just in the nick of time. In Kerala, Karnataka and Goa, a trail of destruction. Trees uprooted, electricity poles pulled down, 12 people have died across 5 states. But the worst is yet to come. What started as a severe cyclonic storm over the Arabian Sea has now intensified into an extremely severe cyclonic storm. 1.5 lakh people have been shifted to safety. 54 teams of the NDRF and SDRF are on standby. Gujarat is bracing for its most severe cyclone in 20 years. Cyclone Tauktae, named after a particularly loud Burmese lizard, is the first cyclone of 2021. It comes as India is riding a deadly COVID second surge. Let me go straight across to S.N. Pradhan, who's the DG of the NDRF, joining us on the show. Unfortunately, we have a pandemic in the mix. Now, I know that you've had some experience from last year. We saw Cyclone Amphan in Bengal last year, Cyclone Nisarg in Maharashtra as well. What were the big lessons from rescue and relief efforts from those cyclones, and how do you ensure that your men who are deployed on the ground, keep safe?
Well, Shreya, I'll be brutally frank. We cannot really draw the line, and we cannot really say that this is the line of safety and we will not be infected. So we have to do our best in our preparation and the preventive aspect of the preparation. And that is why I have ensured that every trooper, every NDRF personnel, each one of them is double inoculated without fail, has full headgear while operating, has gloves while operating, and has a doctor in the team also, and paramedics are of course part of the teams as always. And in every team there has been ensured that there is a core COVID unit which has medicines, which has other paraphernalia like thermometer, the oximeter, etc., so that nobody is, nothing is left to chance. And we realize that it is not only for us, of course, as the aircraft principle goes, that you first give the oxygen mask to yourself so that you can save your co-passengers. It's the same principle with which NDRF works, but we realize that we have a burden of duty to the people who we rescue in the course of a disaster situation. So we are carrying extra masks, extra sanitizers, and we also are ensuring social distancing. So all that is going on, but I must say that it's a tough call, and we cannot rule out infections at the end of the day, but it's a beginning of a long season. So the challenge is right ahead. In fact, extends deep into the next few months.
So there's a particular problem when it comes to the cyclone hitting Gujarat. Gujarat is one of the major suppliers of oxygen across the country, and I'm talking about medical oxygen. It is not just produced here, there is oxygen that comes to the port and then is transported. Are you foreseeing that getting hampered, the transportation of oxygen from Gujarat to different parts of the country getting hampered because of the cyclone? And if yes, what are the measures in place to ensure that, these routes can be opened as early as possible?
Well, Shreya, I'm glad you brought up that, because exactly in the morning today, in the first half of the day, we had encountered a problem in Goa. I think we were discussing Goa just before this, and there were some trees uprooted, and a lot of oxygen tankers were lined up, which were headed towards probably hospitals or stores where there were like vital supply lines for the hospitals and COVID supply. The NDRF immediately rushed to that area and cleared that road so that the oxygen tankers could pass by and go to their destinations, which are very critical. To expand this issue a little more, I would say that yesterday when the Home Minister, Honorable Home Minister, was holding a meeting with the Maharashtra Chief Minister and the Gujarat Chief Minister, the issue of oxygen did come up, and it was discussed threadbare, and it was discussed that it was concluded that at least 48 hours or more of oxygen supplies for all the requirement of the state must be ensured, while doubly also ensuring the clearance of the routes immediately, the vital routes that come from Jamnagar. And from Jamnagar the oxygen supply goes to much of Western India, including North India, including Delhi and Haryana. So that those routes which were identified by the Gujarat government, and the Chief Minister of Gujarat was at pains to spell those routes out, exactly 6 or 7 routes. They are also being monitored 24/7 by the Ministry of Road Transport, and NDRF teams which are in the vicinity are very aware that if there is a tree that falls in the way and oxygen supply there is impediments to the oxygen supply and any other problems, that those have to be cleared immediately. So this is a very conscious effort that while we tackle the cyclone, the COVID situation also is not allowed to worsen because of lack of essential supplies.
All right. Mr. Pradhan, thank you very much for joining us here on the show. And let me go straight across now to GP Sharma, who's the Vice President, SkyMet Weather Services. He's joining us. Sir, the process of the landfall of Cyclone Tauktae has already begun. It will take 2 hours, I believe. What should we be expecting in the next 2 hours, not just in coastal Gujarat, but in other areas as well, where it has been raining very heavily? Mr. Sharma, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. You see, the landfall process of this cyclone, as expected, has already started. Okay, we said that it should be anytime around 8:30. Yes, it was around 8:30. The landfall process has started. As it is, we said landfall process is when it's the inner ring of the cyclone, its peripheral thing, it starts entering the land. We say the landfall process starts. Now, anytime. It's the eye of the storm continues to be seen. Possibly that will also enter. It will become ragged, possibly may get filled up also. But the whole process is going to take almost about another I will say 2 hours. It will go on even 11 o'clock or possibly maybe beyond. Okay, at the moment it has been raining. The rain, obviously, as expected, it has made a landfall somewhere, will be making a landfall somewhere close to Dew. It keeps Dew on the left. It will be, that means landfall will be close to about 30 kilometers on the right side of Dew. That is on the Saurashtra coast. Okay, the winds are already to the tune of about 100 kilometers, and they are growing, and then in any case it should be expected that 150 kilometers per hour, and in gust possibly going beyond even 170 kilometers per hour. That's the estimate. Rains are very, very heavy. It's going to already, as per the news, it's started uprooting the trees and some damages there. Water logging already started. So that in any case was there on the cards as such, and then next 6 hours is going to be very crucial for the area. Yes.
When you say next 6 hours are going to be very crucial for the area, we understand that the process of landfall has begun, but the eye of the storm is yet to hit. We understand that. I want
Yes.
to ask you, when you say the next 6 hours are going to be critical, what does it mean? What should we be expecting in these next 6 hours? Should we expect the winds to intensify, or do we expect the winds to weaken as the cyclone moves further?
No, the winds will intensify. What I say is, you see, in case the eye of the storm continues to be retained till such time the cyclone passes over land, when the eye means it's a generally clear weather conditions, which a normal person may not understand. When before the eye starts crosses the land, winds in any case they pick up, become strong, but then when the eye of the storm crosses, in case it's a clearly seen eye, which right now about half an hour back, yes, it was there, but most likely it gets filled up, gets fragged by the time it crosses the coast. But in that eye, the minimum weather activity is there. It becomes sometime even calm also. It appears as if the storm has gone over, but it is not so. So we wait for that. It will take another 1.5 to 2 hours for the storm process to be complete.
Okay.
And that is how I say, even after it is complete, you see, the two things happens when the storm strikes a coast. Before it strikes, the winds are from one direction. After the eye crosses over there, it comes from the other direction. So that is what it is. It is another dimension of the damage which causes because of the change in the wind direction. Initially, the rain gets blowing from one side. The other time, it starts from the other side. And it gets saturated. Look, so much of downpour is there. The trees and all other things, everything gets wet. Soil gets loose. And that's how with such strong wind of the order of 150 kilometers per hour or so, they starts getting uprooted. Okay, the poles get even the felling of electric poles, snapping of power lines.
Sure.
Already the power has been disconnected in the coastal stations, as the news I got, and quite rightly so. You cannot keep the power on. Absolutely. And then people have to possibly stay with that. It becomes scary, I will tell you. Sitting inside the house, it becomes scary because there's a loud thunderstorm, lightning, heavy rains, roaring winds, and extremely heavy rain. It's actually scary also, but they have to go through that. Yes.
Sir, we understand that right now the process of landfall is underway. This is on the Gujarat coast. But when I was seeing the way the cyclone's journey had been plotted, it was going all the way northwards towards Rajasthan. Are we expecting any impact there and in other states as well in North India?
Sure. You see, the cyclone, since it's a very severe cyclone, extremely severe cyclone, after now making a landfall, it will reduce in strength. But since normally what happens is the storms, when they enter over land, they start weakening rapidly. But rapid action will not be there in its case because basically there is a proximity of huge water body, Arabian Sea, which will keep pumping some of the moist air into the storm. So it will last longer. Though it will weaken, but it will retain its status of a storm even for the next about 12 hours, maybe on a weakening note, albeit on a weakening note, but maintain the status when it moves across through and through Amreli, Junagadh, Surendranagar, and then keeping Rajkot also little onto the left, go across, even the state capital, Gandhinagar, Ahmedabad, all will come in its grip. Okay, next about 12 hours it will happen. Further there it will cross over to Rajasthan. Maybe a weakened system, but even still good enough to have winds to the tune of about 70-80 kilometers and then still torrential rain. Eastern parts of Rajasthan, just like Kota, Bundi, Chittorgarh, Jhalawar, this is the pocket which needs to be washed out. There will be heavy rains there also, even adjoining parts of Madhya Pradesh.
All right, Mr. Sharma, thank you very much for joining us here on the show and giving us a perspective on how the landfall happens and where the impact will be felt next. So for the next 6 to 8 hours, Gujarat, and after that Rajasthan. So thank you very much. Now Tauktae has already left its imprint on Maharashtra. Heavy winds with speeds up to 90 to 100 kilometers per hour and very heavy showers have been recorded across Mumbai, Thane, Raigad, Palghar, Ratnagiri as well. And this was as the storm was heading towards Gujarat. It has uprooted trees, it has disrupted local trail services as well. The Bandra-Worli Sea Link was closed for traffic and people had been asked to take alternate routes. The Mumbai airport had been shut as well. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in fact, had dialed Maharashtra's Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray as well to take stock of the situation on the ground. And what is the situation on the ground? I'm going straight across to my colleague Diwakar Singh, who is joining us live from Mumbai. Diwakar, अभी हमने हाल गुजरात में देखा, काफ़ी वहाँ पे बारिश हो रही है कोस्टल एरिया में क्योंकि लैंडफॉल का प्रोसेस शुरू हो गया है. मुंबई में तो खैर आज सुबह से ही बहुत ज़्यादा मूसलाधार बारिश हो रही थी. अभी क्या सिचुएशन है?
देखिए, जैसे ही तूफान गुजरात में टकराया है वैसे ही मुंबई में बारिश बंद थी, लेकिन फिर से बारिश शुरू हो गई है। तेज हवाएं जो है वो लगातार चल रही हैं। मौसम विभाग के मुताबिक जो है करीब 108 किलोमीटर की स्पीड से जो है कोलाबा इलाके जहां मैं मौजूद हूं गेटवे ऑफ इंडिया पर, यहां पर हवाएं चल रही हैं। लेकिन जो महाराष्ट्र में सुबह से बारिश हुई है, तेज हवाएं रही हैं, उसके चलते तबाही क्या हुई है मैं आपको कुछ तस्वीरें दिखाता हूं। ये तस्वीरें देखिए कि किस तरह से जो बैरिकेटिंग्स लगाई गई थी सड़क के बीच में दोनों तरफ के लिए, वो जो है टूट गई हैं। और सिर्फ टूटी नहीं है बल्कि एक हिस्सा यहाँ है, दूसरा हिस्सा कहीं और बिखरा पड़ा है। और इतना ही नहीं, ये जहां तक आपकी नजर जाएगी इसी तरह की तस्वीरें आपको नजर आएंगी जितनी दूर हम जाते जाएंगे, क्योंकि ये ताज होटल जो है वो उसके सामने की सड़क है। और सबसे अहम चीज कि जो हाहाकार समुद्र में मचा था थोड़ी देर पहले, जो लगातार बड़ी बड़ी लहरें उठ रही थी, और उन लहरों के चलते जो है जो सड़क पे पानी आ रहा था, ये सड़क पूरी तरह से पानी से भर चुकी थी। लेकिन अब फिलहाल बारिश कम हुई है, हाई टाइड का समय जो था वो बीत चुका है। इसके चलते अब समुद्र में लहरें जो है वो कम हो गई हैं, लेकिन अभी भी रह रह के लहरें उठ रही हैं। तो खास तौर पर जो इस वक्त की स्थिति है, कितना नुकसान हुआ है ये तो कल सरकार ही बता पाएगी जांच के बाद कि कितना नुकसान हुआ। लेकिन फिलहाल स्थिति यही है कि जो मंजर है वो यही बताता है कि नुकसान काफी ज्यादा हुआ है।
जी, आप कह रहे हैं कि अभी आकलन करना मुश्किल है कि मुंबई में कितना नुकसान हुआ है या गुजरात में कितना नुकसान हुआ है, वो तो कल सुबह ही पता चलेगा when the sun is out. But Divakar, we leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much for joining us. As we wait for that, here's something you should know. Tauktae is the first cyclone in 4 years to develop in the Arabian Sea, and that too in the pre-monsoon period. The reason? The water of the Arabian Sea has been warming rapidly, providing energy to cyclones to stay alive. But it is actually not the Arabian Sea, but the Bay of Bengal that is considered the hotbed of tropical cyclones with absolutely dreadful storms. Take a look.
It's called the Bay of Sorrow, the birthplace of killer cyclones. The Bay of Bengal, the largest bay in the world, has birthed 25 of the 35 deadliest cyclones in recorded history. It occupies just 0.6% of the world's ocean area, but is responsible for half of all cyclone-related deaths in the world. And it's deadly because of its shape. The Bay of Bengal is triangular in shape, shallow and concave. Water pushed by the strong winds of a tropical cyclone is funneled into a massive storm surge as it moves up the bay. The storm surge is a killer, inundating low-lying areas along the bay. This causes the maximum deaths. The warm sea makes it worse. Cyclone Amphan formed over the Bay of Bengal on a Saturday evening. By Monday morning, in a matter of just 36 hours, it became a super cyclone. Sea temperatures of 32 degrees Celsius in the first 2 weeks of May led to it snowballing rapidly. The Bay of Bengal sees 5 times as many cyclones as the Arabian Sea. It's home to the only 2 super cyclones, Amphan and the one that slammed into the Odisha coast in 1999, and to the great Bhola cyclone of 1970 that killed 500,000, the deadliest in cyclone history.
On that note, I'm slipping into a quick break here on Debrief. Coming up next, the fiercest cyclones India has ever seen. That report up next. Do stay with us. Welcome back. India and its neighbours are no strangers to cyclones. From the most recent Amphan to the deadliest 1999 Odisha cyclone, here are the super cyclones that have ravaged India in the recent past. One 1.7% of all the world's cyclones form in the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea. India and its neighbours have seen several super cyclones in recent history. Exactly a year ago, Super Cyclone Amphan devastated the state of West Bengal. The storm was the first super cyclone to form in the Bay of Bengal since 1999. Thousands of trees were uprooted, electricity and telephone lines were brought down, houses were flattened. At least 72 people died in the state. The storm also damaged a 2,575 square kilometer area in the Sundarbans. The deadliest tropical cyclone to hit India in the last few decades was the 1999 Odisha cyclone. It struck Odisha as a Category 4 equivalent storm with 250 kilometers per hour wind speeds. The storm killed 10,000 people and caused a damage worth $2.5 billion. Then there was Cyclone Oki, a strong tropical cyclone that devastated parts of Sri Lanka and India in 2017. It barreled into the Lakshadweep Islands after ravaging Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Ochi claimed 245 lives in India, with at least 550 people missing, mainly fishermen. As I wrap the show, there are pictures that are coming to us from Diu. This is where the process of landfall is currently underway. We are leaving you with these pictures. What these pictures essentially show is the intensity of the storm that was brewing in and around the Gujarat coast. Thanks for watching.